What does it take to get clear on who you are? Beyond the roles, titles, and expectations. I'm Chisom, your host on Overnight Wisdom. In this episode, I speak with actor and author Kubbra Sait about the power of identity clarity. We unpack how to stop living on autopilot, make brave personal choices, and build a life rooted in your truth, not someone else's script. If you're navigating change or craving more alignment, this conversation will meet you where you are. Let's begin. Hi, Kubbra. Welcome to Overnight Wisdom. I'm really excited to have you here.
Thank you so much. Chisom, I really love the name of your podcast.
Thank you.
I almost feel like wisdom is collected over such a long period of time, but the second it settles in,
It's there.
it's really overnight.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, that's kind of what I was playing at as well, or even just things like, and wisdom, you can think about it even like boundaries. You might have been dealing and tolerating some shit your whole life. And then one day the veil lifts and you're just like, nah, just like that, I'm done.
Just like
And
that.
just like that. And then I don't think we often reflect on like just how long it took to get to that point. But it does feel like, okay, this is overnight. But I think even with success, right? Oftentimes people think, oh, you came out of nowhere. You just succeeded. It's like, no, I've been working my ass off for years. It seems like it's overnight, but it's not.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
But sometimes, like now I'm realizing that I don't owe anyone an explanation for how long I've been doing this.
Mm.
Like I feel sometimes growth has its strange ways to kind of like leave you lingering in the past, because then you turn around, look back, and you go like, oh, I did that right, and I did that right, and I did that right, and I did that right. And then it's always your present that you seem to have a problem with. And you're like, oh my God, my past has been so great. What's the mess with the present then?
Yeah. I think that's the thing about hindsight being 2020. Like everything is a bit clearer when you have a little bit of perspective, when you're outside of the thing. Yeah. And usually it's just a matter of time. But I also liked what you said there around not owing anyone an explanation for who you are, your existence. You don't need permission, for being. And I really love that. I think that's something that comes with age. That's something that also comes with time. And age, of course, it differs because just some 50-year-olds that, they could, yeah. But anyways,
in all honesty and full disclosure, I was sitting with my therapist, and my therapist said, so I'm just going to say it the way she said it, which is like, Arey Baba, 30 years mein to prefrontal cortex, paida hota hai, like develop hota hai.
Yeah.
Which is basically, it's at the age of 30 when your prefrontal cortex is like fully developed. Like, do you understand that everything else before that was really a trial run?
Yeah.
We were just testing.
Yeah.
And that's how long the testing takes before you actually start applying and living.
Yeah.
So can we just stop being hard about everything that happened to us between 0 to 30? Like, stop it.
Absolutely. I love that. I mean, 30 does feel somewhat clarifying. And then like the years after that, at least for me, every year I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm so much wiser. Whereas the previous year, I'm like, I'm as wise as they come, this is it.
Yeah, I'm as wise as it comes.
This is it. Nothing to learn anymore. I know it all. And then the next year I'm just like, humility is a thing, yeah?
Just get up and leave.
I love it. But I already love how we started this conversation. So I'm then going to ask you the question. Kubbra, tell us who you are. Wow. How did you become you?
I think it's only recently that I started asking myself this question, which was, who am I? And I really wanted to meet myself. And I was like, ooh, that can be a great start, because I seem to be quite curious about everything else around me. And I really wanted to ask myself who I am, what brought me this far, what were the incidents that shaped my life. And I think when I take a stock and barrel and an aggregate of everything that's happened to me and where I am right now, I feel very It's very comforting to share with you that I feel like I've accomplished a lot than what I stepped out to accomplish. I am a person who's recognizing that kindness is more than just acts. I'm a young girl who's just learning how to make girlfriends, like as recently as 2 years ago. I'm also somebody now who's embracing her femininity. And I'm at that stage at my life where I'm really enjoying what I do. So much so that I feel it's given me wings to create and to now recognize my voice and just be, you know. So as far as the labels of society go and my job description goes, I'm an actor, I'm an author, an anchor. I was just in a reality show as recently as like 2 months ago, like a month and a half ago.
Love it.
It's a bunch of things. I'm a storyteller. Yeah, it's fun.
I love it. I wanted to come back to what you said about embracing femininity. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah. I think I grew up in an atmosphere where I think I saw my mom do a lot of the work and she was the breadwinner. I did have dad. It's not like I didn't have dad, but he was dad. But I saw mom do all the work. So I saw how much of the masculinity was required if you needed to like run your life, feed your children, send them to school, educate them, have a roof over their heads. So I felt it required a lot of masculinity to do that. So I think I embraced that really early on in life. So it's only now when I am achieving things and I'm realizing that, oh, you don't have to be so hard towards yourself and the rest of the world. So I remember sitting with my therapist, and this was a long time ago. I've been like seeing my therapist for a heavy load of years now. And it's really fun because I toggle between once a week to once in 2 weeks to once in a month sometimes, right? It's just frequency that has changed. Yeah. But I remember back in the day when I used to go to her every week, she used to tell me that I need you to take out an hour a week where you only get ready for no one else but yourself. Like you get ready, you wear your makeup, you wear your perfume, you wear a beautiful dress, and you don't go anywhere. You just stay. You just be. Even when we are learning acting, you know, there are many rasas, like musical notes. There are these emotional, like meters, right? So one of them is the Shringar ras, which is you ornating yourself, sitting in adoration of yourself. And I don't think I knew how to do that for a very long time. And now that I practice it, like I got ready for you today, for example.
Thank you.
Like it looks simple, but I know I had to go pick those right colors and be like, okay, cool. I feel like this is what I want to look like for overnight wisdom. Like, so let's do this, you know? But it's these little things of just being and not necessarily chasing, doing. Like the goal is here. The goal is not there. Because every day that you do something to yourself, it is a check on the list. So we just don't give ourselves enough credit because we've always been told, I guess, play small, play tiny, don't be too
humble.
Be humble. I'm out of that shit anymore. I'm proud to be a woman. I'm proud to be me. Yeah, it's fun.
I love it. Thanks for sharing. I was asking about that because for me as well, I grew up in a space where my mom is the breadwinner, and my mom is as tough as they come. So it's funny when a lot of people talk about leadership and they envision a man. For me, it's always just been a woman because women have been badasses. But of course, there's this specific persona that comes with being that kind of woman. You know, a woman who walks into the room and like the men get a little bit uncomfortable. That was my mother. That is my mother. And I've been reflecting a lot about this because recently I launched a new company that is a bit softer than my other companies that I run. And for the longest time, not just now, for years, I've been kind of like struggling between, People see Chisom as this tough, person who goes, to leaders on stage and says the thing, right? There's this strong persona that comes with being me, that when people find out that I make candles and I like to cook and I like to host and I like to do soft things, you're like, yeah, I can't see that. And I'm like, why? Why is it that as women, we're not allowed to be more than one thing? That you can either be soft and want the soft side, or you can be strong and be tough. And there's nothing that allows us, at least that's what I think, societally, to be multiple things. And for a while as well, I struggled with, how do I bridge this multiple parts of myself? Yeah. And now I just thought, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not going to try to bridge. I'm just going to be, right? And I'm not going to niche myself, because people tell me sometimes, so you have a lot of different companies. You're doing a lot of different things. Well, hello. I refuse to fit myself into a box, because trying to do that is also really exhausting. And what you were saying about like, all we have is the now. What I'm also trying to do more intentionally, and I think I've been on this journey for like 10 years, is having presence. Like all I have is the now. How can I be present in the now? Yeah. So that was why I was asking, because that resonated for me in my current state
Yay!
of life and presence. Yeah.
Oh, wow. This is the beauty, right? Like you just said that you've been practicing and learning and growing in the last 10 years. I feel my journey of growth and kind of uncovering the layers has started about maybe 5-6 years ago. But that's the beauty of education. And that's the beauty of curiosity. Like there is no time limit for anybody. It can just expand itself. It can contract itself. And this thing about, where you said that, oh, I can be more than one thing. You know who can't be more than one thing? Men.
I so knew you were going to say that.
I was itching to say this, like from the second you said, like, oh, I can do so many things. I'm like, and men find it the hardest to multitask. And on the other hand, we've been given this load of like multitasking, saying, oh, you're so good at this. But you also have to be good at this and this and this and this, and only then you're a complete woman. But like the society that has been built, and I'm not being a complaint monger, right? Like, oh, I want to tell you how bad the society is. It's not that. But I'm really saying that men have been so comfortable doing one thing that they really haven't had to exercise their emotional muscles, their empathy muscle, their
at least not simultaneously.
muscle, and not simultaneously. It's so interesting. It's not simultaneously. Somehow, as women, we can be great sisters, we can be great employees, we can be great mothers, we can be great friends, and we can do all of this at the same time.
And we expected to be, though. I think men are not expected. So it's like, oh my gosh, he does 1.5 things well. Amazing. Let's celebrate him. But a woman, you do 10, you mess up 1. Oh my gosh, how dare you? At least that's my experience.
Yeah. I agree. I'm not saying that that's been entirely my experience, because I'll be like, oh, I did 9 things. Did you see those 9? I will talk about those 9 things. If you miss and you're talking just about the one thing I didn't do, I will point out the 9 things that I did.
I love it. Yep.
I'm that guy. I'm that guy.
I love it. I want to talk to you about, because yes, you now are a creative and you express your creativity in so many different ways. But before you were a creative, you were in the corporate space. Yeah, you had worked in Microsoft and you went from that to what you are now. So how did that pivot happen? And also, how did you give yourself permission for that pivot? And I do want to caveat it on, I know you're Indian and I'm Nigerian, and so we come from similar countries in that our parents expect us to do sensible things and have sensible careers. So how do you go from Microsoft to creativity, and how did they even manage that?
I think I just pivoted back into creativity. I always wanted to be in Mumbai. I always wanted to do something in the entertainment space, but no one in my long lineage family ever even visited Mumbai to do this, right? And there was this one long lost uncle who had come to Mumbai, and he had a failed career. So he became that person who you should not become. And it was a man who failed. So then how would you succeed as a woman? But I don't think it was that much of a conversation as much as it was a conversation about me being a girl and about me being safe in an absolutely unknown world. Because I think corporate life still had a definition. You had education, you went and worked in a corporate job, and then you worked there till you got promoted over and over again, and then you died or you retired. For me, the first challenge was to get out of my home in my hometown, which is Bangalore. I grew up in the south of India. And my mom chose to send me to Dubai. In her mind at that time, I guess it was safe, it was secure. It had kind of the roots and foundations of the religion I belong to. And just as a community as a whole, I thought she felt it was a lot more safe for me to be in Dubai. And I had no context of leaving home or building anything, right? So I just had to go and figure it out one day at a time, one job at a time, until I reached Microsoft. And that became a badge of honor for everybody in my family. And I was like, cool, I'm enjoying this too because my family's enjoying it. But I reckon after 3 years, I knew I was doing myself an odd amount of injustice. It was not fun to show up at work and feel like a robot and try to learn things that you weren't necessarily good at. Like the skill set of like typing numbers in and presenting forecasts and just crunching numbers didn't come to me naturally. So someone who enjoyed doing what I was doing would have done the same job in maybe like 2 hours. But because I was just not equipped with that kind of mental faculty or interest to do this, I would take like 6 hours. And I would just be tired and drained all the time. And I remember I checked out in the year 2008, really, and I wanted to leave. I just wanted to quit and I just wanted to come back and figure this out because I knew I had built something from ground up. And I remember it was a hard conversation, but it was a conversation that happened with mom itself. And I told my mom, I said, Ma, you sent me here and you said that I'm capable to achieve anything that I want. And I feel like in the last 5 years, I've done a lot more than I thought I could like achieve or see myself in. And so I think I want to go back and live the first dream that I had, which was going to Mumbai before you sent me to Dubai. And if I created something in an unknown land with strangers, Mumbai still for me is India.
It's home.
It's home. The only thing is that I don't know people, but I can learn. But I really need to do this for me. And I guess because there was proof in the pudding, like because I had done something, I didn't need to over-explain myself or run with any other plan A, B, or C. It was just like, do you remember that this was plan A, Mom? I really want to do this now more than ever. And my mom was reminding me the other day, apparently on this conversation that I had with her, I told her clearly that I will not move back to Bangalore. I will move to Mumbai. So it was still me being away from home. And I'm still going to continue to do what I'm doing, but just with a different sense and a different association. And I will build this jigsaw puzzle with all these 1,000 pieces scattered all over, but I'll make them look like one unit and one picture. She was supportive then. She's supportive now.
Yeah,
But I think I have found my voice more and more with every single passing day, with every single passing decade. But I've been on the road now for 2 decades. So it's been pretty awesome. And I know that I may not have like a profit and loss account like on paper, but I know that I have 2 very different versions of the first decade from the second decade. So I think it was just growth and learning. And
I love that. How did you get into acting?
started with auditions, really. I came into Mumbai and at best, I thought I would be like a TV host. That's what I thought I would end up doing. I really felt I was really good at talking. So that should be like the first step. But I remember when I was leaving, I had a bunch of friends who came to the airport to drop me off in Dubai, like my last hurrah, my last goodbye. And everybody was like almost mockingly saying, oh my God, you're going to Mumbai, is it? So you're going to become an actor, is it? Wow, famous Kubbra. Oh, actor. I said, done. Now we'll go become actor. You want me to become an actor? I'll become. So I came in here, asked around, and they said, well, the only way is to start like going into these audition rooms, and most of them were like cold audition rooms, like where you had like 60 people sitting outside, and one by one you would go in and hold a slate and then give introductions and your phone number, and they would say maybe after 2 days to a week they would be like, oh, you're on the job or not on the job. And I guess when I started getting my first few jobs, I'm like, I like. And I guess that's how acting happened. But I don't think I was really an actor. I didn't know what the bare bones or foundation of acting was. I didn't know what it meant to like channel a different character through your body and say lines that would mean something to them. And it didn't mean you needed to like have them affect you in a way, but like I was just like, oh, I need to channel this. But no, it was a different character. And I think that first big aha moment happened to me in like 2017, and then later in 2018 when Sacred Games released, and that changed everything.
Right.
And now I educate myself to be an actor. Now I attend courses to be an actor. I learn on an everyday basis. I rehearse on an everyday basis. But that's today. That wasn't when I started off.
Right. You talk about the growth that has happened across decades, and of course, you had a life in Dubai, and then you went back home, but then you went back to a different part of the country where you've not previously lived in, and then getting these complex roles, right, beyond the ones you had before. So, Kuko, I think that is in Sacred Games. I think even where I've watched you on Foundation, you've played really complex characters that, kind of challenge dominant narratives. I mean, I see why. But I guess my question is, what draws you to this kind of roles?
Money.
Yes, I love it.
No.
I mean, it's true. The lights don't keep themselves on.
No. But I guess I've been really fortunate with the kind of like yeses I've had the opportunity to say yes to, right? I think what's also happened is that I've opened myself to a new host and a new bandwagon of extremely talented and passionate people. So I think when you surround yourself with those kind of teams that allow to tell stories that are beyond themselves and are curious and creative enough, take you on a journey. Those were the times when I didn't put the trust in me, but instead I put the trust in them. And I allowed them to take me to the shore. I allowed them to captain the boat, and it was fine. I guess I really never went out and said, you know what, I want to play that character or I want to play that character. It was one character that led people's minds opening up and seeing me. So today, like for example, I get these labels of, oh, you're so bold, you're so fierce, you're so brave, you're so outspoken. And I'm like, I don't know if that's the product of the work I've done or the work is the product of who I am. But like, but I also understand that I'm beautiful and I can be pretty on screen and I can be soft spoken because I have all of that in me too. So I guess someday someone will see that and not just call me bold, fierce, brave.
I guess it's the combination of all the things, right? It's because again, it's back to that. Once you're one thing, it's like, okay, you're brave, but then you can also be other things as well, right? You can be soft, you can be funny, you can be whatever it is that you are in that moment. And I think that's important.
I just did my first funny film, so I was really happy.
Okay. How did it go?
Very good. Very good. It's on Netflix.
I love it. What is it called?
It's called Son of Sardar 2. It's got a lot of like reference points to like old movies and gags and stuff like that. But it's a mad progressive film.
Yeah. It's
insanely beautiful and it's funny. And I thoroughly enjoyed playing this character called Mehvish. I felt it was me. Like it was me X10. I loved it. It was such a freeing character. And I got to play that for the first time. And I was like, holy crap, I'm funny.
I love it. I've made a note. I hope it's on Netflix, like globally, not just okay, wonderful. I'll look it up. Um, how do you prepare yourself? And you kind of alluded to it earlier, but how do you prepare yourself to be somebody else, emotionally, psychologically, culturally, when you play these roles?
As an actor, I have a firm belief that your script is your Bible. I was learning in acting class, and my teacher said that when you read a script, you are not reading it as an actor, but you're reading it like a detective, like a spy. You're trying to find everything that's not said in the script and find meaning from it. Because the script is your clue box, and you keep finding clues to your character. And I feel like every day that I work towards becoming a better actor, I work towards unlocking empathy inside me, which makes me a better human being. Because as an actor, the one thing that you cannot do is judge your character. You need to be the advocate of your character. You need to be your character's lawyer. And I find that fascinating.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. I love that as well. I think there's a lot that can also carry over into real life as how do we treat ourselves? How do we think of ourselves? How do we show grace? How do we criticize? How do we judge ourselves? I think a lot of us, the world, can also benefit. I think especially for people who are quite hard on themselves from how do you advocate for the version of you that you are now? Not the person you were, not the person you want to be, but for the person you are now. How do you show up for them?
I feel the person that you are right now depends on the story that you've been telling yourself about your past.
Yes.
Forever and ever and ever.
Absolutely.
What we tend to forget is that what happened to us was an incident and it was left there. But we tend to carry that one incident as the absolute truth and the purview of the rest of the world. So if I got cheated on by one person, then the whole world is going to cheat me. And I guess it's the story that you tell yourself over and over again that makes you really hard to deal with the present, because you're so sure about what you know in your past that we don't tend to like just stop for a second and be like, but that's still just a story I've been telling myself. So if I change the story, can I change my present?
Right.
And I don't mean that you have to minimize your pain or minimize your experience or, forget what happened, but it's to consciously choose to move on from it. Because no matter what experience you may have gone through, good, bad, ugly, or great, or unique, it happened then. Your idea should be able to either minimize the pain in the future with every present that happens, or you want to realize that, oh, cool, now I have another chance to create something amazing again, all over again.
Yeah.
Like when Sacred Games happened, it blew me out, put me into the stratosphere. Everybody was like, oh my God, actor, there's a new actor in town, right? But since then, I think I'm only trying to figure out how can I create another big moment like that, because that moment is in my past and it was one of the greatest moments of my life. But I can't live with that moment for the rest of my life. And I'm not talking about a sad moment. I'm talking about a happy moment.
Right.
So when I don't want to live with my happy moments for the rest of my life, why is it that I want to live with the sad moments for the rest of my life? If I treat everything the same, then eventually everything shall pass.
Right. I mean, there's a lot happening in my head, right?
Go ahead.
As I listen to you speak, and I do agree. I mean, I'm hearing a lot of things. I'm hearing permission to reinvent, yeah, and it's not just because there are some people as well who you see coasting on past glory, like I was the high school prom king or whatever. And they just never moved forward from that. That was their crowning glory. And I love what you're saying around as long as we breathe, at least that's what I'm hearing, we can continue to create, to reinvent, to become. And that's something I, recognize. And at the same time, I think for me, what I was also thinking about is it's one thing to look at things like breakups, right? But I'm also thinking, when you go through something like assault, right? I think trauma can be quite jarring, and trauma can stay with us for a very long time. But even with that, I think one of the things, I take away, and I also reflect on even personally and in the spaces I occupy around mental health and well-being, is I get to choose to live. I choose to move forward. I'm not going to necessarily let go of this part of my life or like forget that it did not happen. It happened, but it doesn't get to define me. Yeah. And I'm stubborn as hell because I'm just like, they win. Yeah. And God
Yeah.
forbid that happens, So it's just, I think for me, just wanted to frame it around at least what I'm hearing you say, no matter the situation, no matter how traumatizing. And many of us need different time to process, of also coming down to social programming, nature, nurture, how much therapy we've had. I love therapy. I have a therapist. I see her frequently. She's amazing. She has a lot of my money.
There's a lot of my secrets.
A lot of my secrets, a lot of my money. But even with my partner, we have couples therapy. That's how much I believe in therapy. Like, fix the thing before it becomes a thing, So more like maintenance rather than like showing up when things are really bad. But anyways, I digress. My points being, even for trauma, I think for a lot of us, we carry different levels of trauma. It's making that decision that I get to live, I get to reinvent, I get to become. I don't get to be just this version of myself that they try to kill for things that are, quite, big.
Yeah, I hear you. I myself have been someone who's gone through abuse at a young age and went on to deal with it until I ran away from the country, even, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, escaping my reality in Bangalore was less about creating an identity or a career, but was more about like running away from a monster that was in my house, literally. Uh, so for me, for example, it was place disassociation. I had to get away from the place in order to like feel safe. And it's a bad time when you go through something like that. It's a horrible time because there's so much of your identity that spills into the new relationships you make, the new friends you make. You just feel jaded and broken from the very beginning. So, how the hell do you bring yourself back to a place where you feel safe? And it was hard, but I also know it wasn't impossible because the strangest thing happened. I remember years later, and I'm talking about being out of like Bangalore now for 20 years. I'm talking about the last time I visited Bangalore. I'm in a traffic light with my mom, and we're driving, and the person who pulled up in the car next to us was the person who abused me. And it was literally like, wow, that's my road. And we kept going straight and he went left. And it was just like, it doesn't affect me anymore. It shouldn't affect you anymore. What is it that you're doing where you find peace with yourself? You, like you said, you don't allow them to define you. And you don't let them get away with everything and feel emboldened because they couldn't define you. And they see me all over the place, and I need to see them once in 20 years. I can do that again and again. And really, I think the forgiveness was for myself. It wasn't for anyone else.
Yes.
Who am I? Because when I need forgiveness, I ask my God. I ask the supreme power above me who's guiding me, who's protecting me, right? So who am I to forgive anyone? If anything, I will seek forgiveness for myself because I didn't know how to be any different in that moment of adversity. So,
yeah, thanks for sharing that. I love that. Like when I think about my own life, childhood, and trauma, I also reflect the same. Like, I don't forgive them, but I forgive myself. And that's it. Because oftentimes, at least in my case, that was what I needed. Yeah. I don't get to think about them. And I get to process and I get to heal. And one of the things that comes up for me, one of the things I heard as a child that I held on to is your mind is one battleground that you cannot afford to lose. Not to anyone, not to yourself, not to your parents, not to society. Like, that is the one thing you have to defend and you have to keep your mind. Yeah. And I have held on to that for so long. So no matter what happened, at the end of the day, as long as I can come home and talk to myself and see myself and hold myself fuck everyone else.
I agree.
Yeah.
So there are two things that I say, like I prepare myself for every battle that I need to go into. Like I can't go into a war where they have one button and one finger on the button with nuclear power, and I can't go there with pots and pans for this fight. I need to equip myself with the kind of warfare that requires
Yes.
me to be equal and equal opponent in that battlefield. I could never consider my opponent to be weaker than me. I need to consider my opponent just as strong or stronger than me, and then I know I'll win.
Yeah.
It's not about like, oh, let me go fight this. I'll get wiped out. So now I work towards building my artillery. I start building my army. Oh, everything's here though.
Yes.
Everything's here though.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a pretty decent process. It's rather foolproof. It's worked. And it
Yes.
continues to work.
Yeah.
And once you know that that's the process, and you can't just give up on that process because you hacked it once.
Yeah.
You don't hack it every time.
Yes.
Make peace with that. Life gets easy.
Yeah. The work is in the work. Like it's just an ongoing process. Yeah. You don't do it once and it's done. Yeah.
It's not done. It's never done.
Yes. It's not done. I want to talk a bit about your book called Open Book.
Da, 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 da.
Yes, absolutely. I picked it up, love it. In your book, you said something, and I paraphrase, this isn't a memoir, but it's the truth. And reading part of your book, it felt to me that writing it was somewhat of an unravelment, even for you. Yeah. And I guess my question is, what did that process allow you to fully understand or confront?
I felt that there was comfort in the confrontation.
Mm-hmm.
Up until now, I was dealing with all my stories, as I was saying, as the oppressor, as the villain, as someone bigger than me. But the second I took control of the narrative and I said, this is how it happened, and this is how it shaped me. And here I am, living, breathing, thriving, loving, and being. That process for me was free, was comforting. I started feeling like I didn't have to carry that weight anymore. So I climb mountains, right? And you know that you have to carry a day bag with you. And you know that your journey for the day is going to be 6 hours. And you need to have everything you need in the bag. So your essentials are in the bag. You don't carry your sleeping mat, and you don't carry like your dinner. You carry your lunch. You carry what you need. And everything else is excess baggage. And I only learned that there are people who can assist you to do your job. There are people who can assist you with your goal. And you don't have to carry all this weight. So when I put these moments down, and I said that, you know what, this is the truth. And it's not anybody else's truth. This is my truth.
Yeah.
You put it out there. I'm willing to have an open discussion with whoever, but it's done. Because once you see it, anything that has shaped you, once you see it, I find it very hard to unsee after that.
Mm-hmm.
If you see your strength, you see your power, you see your resilience, you see how goddamn strong you've been, you cannot unsee it.
Yeah.
Just cannot.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for sharing that. Yeah.
Thank you. And sorry, but like literally, it was like packing all that trauma and then taking the bag off my shoulders, putting it out, opening the zip. And it was bizarre because those problems were not mine alone. Those were everyone's problems.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
And the real power in releasing those problems is actually releasing them.
Yeah. That resonates a lot. I often say, at least for me, how I deal with anxiety, whatever comes up, if I can say the thing, if I can name it, if I can write it down, the power it has over me reduces. Yeah. And it's literally like I'm letting down the burden that I save. I'm like, oh, I'm afraid that maybe that thing might not work out. It feels less stressful than when it's just in my head because I've said that thing, I've taken some power over it. And as someone who writes, I've been writing for many years, and now I'm working on my first book, but unpacking a lot of trauma in that book as well. It's really been interesting to see. I literally have sessions where I just write and cry, but then once I cry, I'm done. I've written it down. I've looked at the thing because I'm beginning to realize in the writing process that, oh my gosh, there was so much shit I had not dealt with or even acknowledged, but it was there festering, not in my conscious mind, but like holding me at chokehold and writing it down. And then I'm able to say, that sucks. I'm going to cry about that. And then I'm going to move on. And it's been such a release, so saying the thing, writing the thing down. So I hear you, everything you say, just like, it makes complete sense. And it's not my shame. And I think that was when you said that in terms of like, it's not mine alone, it's not my experience alone. And one of the things that become clearer to me is like, this is not my shame to carry. Yeah. So I really appreciate that. And I really love that also about just reading your book where there was that sense of release. Like I unravel, I release, I move on. I really love that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing that with me. Because that's how I felt. And all the best for your book.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to ask you, I can imagine when you blew up, now the public cares about your life. They want to pick at everything. Was there a moment where you felt misunderstood by the public? And how did you navigate that tension? Or did you never have that?
I think I was misunderstood for a very long time as a child, then through adolescence. Then when I became an adult, I just couldn't care enough about you misunderstanding me. Really. And I know that I probably even operated from a place of arrogance at that point because I also felt that it was my way of protecting myself. So don't give me unwarranted advice if I didn't ask you for it, period. And if you don't understand me, it's cool. I don't need to be understood. And that's fine. But I'm that person who would look at every small win. And that kind of clears the air and clears the doubt. Because I feel that the more you're trying to prove to people that you're right, the more time you're wasting. So why don't we do this? You continue to be misunderstanding me. Continue doing it. It's fine. It's no problem. And I'll continue doing my thing. It's just easier for me to invest energies where I know they work rather than me putting my energies into you, one, who doesn't matter, and two, why am I taking advice from you? Because I'm the one who's creating and you are stagnant and exactly where you are. So don't ask someone who's never created anything how to create.
Right.
Don't ask someone to tell you a joke when you know they're not funny. It's fine. And do you add value to the way I think and grow? You're welcome in my life. But if this is just about you projecting, then it's okay. I'm fine.
Yeah. And I'm the one who's doing, and you're out here complaining and criticizing. Go do.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. I mean,
enjoy.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds to me, because I was just thinking as listening to you answer that question now, I think this is also like a mini class in mental health for people as well. Just like, how do you protect yourself? How do you protect your bandwidth? How do you, put boundaries in place to make sure that you're not affected by the outside? So I do want to ask you about power. It seems to me that you are somebody who is acutely aware of the power that they have, I think in all the ways, right? It's something you said earlier, which I love. I was having a conversation with my friend earlier, like a couple of weeks ago, and they had this beautiful person from Tunisia, and then there's me, and we're both thinking, say, listen, we're beautiful people, like we're smart as hell, but we also know we walk into a room, we look good. Yeah. I think there's something in owning that, not like I would never be that person. Somebody says, oh my gosh, you're beautiful. I'm like, what? No. I absolutely know. Thank you very much for stating the obvious, but as humble as possible, of course. So my question to you is, I like, even just in this conversation, just like the thread I see in you have an awareness of who you are in space, in work, in society, as a person, identity-wise. What does power mean to you? And how do you, if you do, think of, negotiate, and leverage your power?
Oh, heavy, yeah. I think power is anything that gives you the ability to change.
Mm-hmm.
I look at power as force. I look at power as something substantial enough to change something as big as mountains and rocks. That's power. And when you do something constantly and consistently, you can result that power in a subsequent change. Right? I feel that power is best used when it's the change for yourself. Because my power dilutes when I try to change the rest of the world.
Right.
But my power increases when it's focused. I am the piece of stone that is going to be sculpted into this beautiful structure. In this beautiful sculpture, right? It's me. Can I use all the power on this beautiful thing? I am my purpose. I am this person who's going to see myself from the beginning of life till the end of it, right? And imagine when you realize you have that power and then you start wasting it on changing other people. I feel it's just a gross waste of time to do that. How do I use it in negotiations? I use it in a fearless way. I don't feel if I lose something, I'm not going to get some. It's only when I lose something can I get some. So I have to teach myself and train myself and be kind to myself on all the days that I'm fearful of doing something new. But that's really the conversation I need to have with myself. And to be active in this thought and to be active in this power, I do a lot of difficult things. I'm not afraid of challenges. I climb mountains. I love my adventure. I love breaking down everything that I have earned and gathered for myself for the basics and cutting myself away from technology and just going into hibernation and a focused activity that allows me to think of nothing else but that activity. And I keep pushing myself in that direction. And when you starve yourself from all the bloody problems in the world, you realize that you have so much more energy to create and you have so much more energy to be inspired. Like I was listening to this thing where someone was talking about Steve Jobs, and he said that Steve Jobs had this 70-30 rule, which is get 30% done because 70% is noise. And I feel when you don't give time to reset yourself and reboot yourself, you will constantly be stuck in the noise. So it's the second you release yourself from the noise, the stillness allows you to be inspired. And I feel that's how I reclaim my power back. Because you will never understand what fearlessness is until you do something that scares the shit out of you.
Yes, that is correct.
Oh, 10 on 10.
That is
So that's
correct.
how I reclaim my power. Woo! I answered that big question.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing. And it's one of the questions I tend to ask people, because for me, it's something that I've also had to reclaim. This idea that I want power, and that power is not, it's not a specific thing externally, it's for myself. And I think in many ways, I've always had that power. I just have to articulate it to myself, my ability to reset. So you're talking about going hiking, giving time for yourself. For me, it's every morning just having that moment to reflect and meditate and recenter and quiet the noise. There's so much that happens in my work, in my business, in my relationships, just based on that 10 minutes in the morning or 15 minutes in the morning where I'm just like, no, we're not doing that. Or yes, we're absolutely doing that, because I've just given myself silence and presence to go, Chisom, what do you want? What does your heart want?
Top class. I do this every morning myself.
Yeah.
And I understand it. It's just such a glorious day to see. It's such a glorious way to see the world every day.
Yeah.
All right. Because I ground myself in the morning to tell myself that was yesterday. And today is my power. Why the hell do we charge our phones every 20 minutes?
Yeah, we need to give it power. I love it.
It's so simple sometimes. Like we pay more attention to things than we pay to ourselves. And I don't understand why would we do this kind of a disservice to ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
If we were just kinder to ourselves, I'm sure the world would be a lot easier.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have a quick question about your art, and then I have a fire round. So you do different things: cinema, TV. You host. You're an anchor. You write. What have you learned about yourself just through the different medium? You know, the different parts of you that have to show up in each realm.
I felt that every single medium gives you a different learning, right? For the longest time, for example, working as an actor, I also believed somewhere deep down inside me that I can execute to perfection. So it doesn't have to be mine, doesn't have to be my idea, but it can just be what someone else has written or thought of. But if I'm at the helm of executing it, I'll do it to the best of my ability. Through stage, I felt that I was the truest, the most unapologetic version of me. As an author, I just felt I was not looking at my life or the rest of the world with one lens. But instead, I was looking at it from the view of a kaleidoscope. Like, wow, there could be so many ways to look at one thing. So I feel like everything that you do new, like maybe one day I'll learn how to do magic. I think it's really tough, but you know what I mean? But like, there are different things that unlock with different parts of your creativity and your mind. Because, yeah, they are all a big part of like this big space called the entertainment space. But when you do different things, they unlock different parts of you. They are never the same thing. No 2 days in an artist's life is ever the same. To recognize how unique that is your power, right? And I really enjoy doing that. So I feel like, why should I limit myself based on the label that now you recognize me at? You only went to 10th standard and like, or 10th grade, right? But I want to go to college and I want to graduate and I want to do my master's and I want to do a PhD in whatever the hell I'm doing, right? So if you think I'm a good anchor, I don't have to stop myself there. I can continue to do other things.
Love that.
And I can continue to. And who decides if I'm winning or losing? Not you for sure. It's always me.
Yeah.
And I guess that becomes easier to do when you start having a community around you, when you have, and you'll realize, and I think I've realized that the more I was growing, the more similar mindsets I was attracting. When I was not growing, I was attracting the same stagnancy. So where you are is the kind of people you will meet.
Yeah.
And where you are is where you will meet people who will inspire you to do something else. And you don't have to be in the same, geographical location. I could log into Overnight Wisdom and learn something that would unlock something in my mind. Like there is this thing that I've been listening to for years called the Moth Radio, which is just stories of love, stories of grief, stories of accomplishments, stories of failure. And these are real stories. That inspired me to become a storyteller. Allowed me to take one big incident and pack it into 5 minutes and make it autobiographical. Done. Finished. So I feel like different mediums allow you to explore different parts of you and just be open to that exploration.
Yeah. I love that. A through line listening to you speak is that ongoing sense of reinvention and not needing permission for that to happen. Now, as you reinvent, and of course, you're still part all these different parts, is there a part of you that stays the same even as you evolve? So what keeps you recognizably you?
Stay childlike for life.
I love it.
Please do not feel embarrassed to be stupid. There is so much power in stupidity. There is so much power in saying, I don't know.
Yes.
You do not have to be the smartest person in the room. And if you are the smartest person in the room,
The problem.
then you're probably in the wrong room.
I think this is for the evolved though, because I think a lot of people and a lot of leaders don't understand this. Like, get the smart people in the room, get the hell out of their way, let them do the work. And it's also important to know you don't know what you don't know. And there's no shame in that. And it's something you've said a few times now. The people you surround yourself with, and what keeps coming up for me is you're an average of the sum of people you hang out with, essentially.
Essentially, that's the truth. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you have the world to mirror you all the time, which is why I go way into nature, right? Because nature is indeed the most humbling experience. I mean, trees, river, water, mountains, been standing there for centuries. Now that is wisdom. That didn't come overnight. You went to spend one night with them and you got overnight wisdom.
Absolutely.
So don't be bigger than nature, bigger than the universe. It's like every time I climb a mountain and I stand on top of the mountain is when I look around and I go like, oh Lord, there are more mountains that have appeared. You know? There is no limit to this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what makes you realize how limitless you are.
Yeah. I love that.
I think we are just too scared of something that's unfamiliar, but that's also because we've been trained somehow to play small.
Absolutely.
No one tells one river you are smaller than that river. Wow, you're still a river. I can still
Don't slow.
river. Just go. I didn't understand going with the flow until I sat in front of a river. And this happened to me like 1.5 years ago. And I think I'm in flow state, right? Like I believe I'm doing just fine. But I find myself stuck. And then I find a wise person who says, just go with the flow. And I don't understand until I saw the river flow. And it doesn't stop. And it doesn't go like, oh my God, big stick in my way. It takes stick and throws it to the side.
Absolutely.
And continues to flow.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh no, branch. I gotta stop.
Never happens.
Stone, rock, boulder. Cannot flow.
Yeah, I love it. I love that. Be like water. Like nothing stops it. It will find a way. And also, I think what I'm hearing from you as well, I'm also taking for myself, I think, as a reminder and affirmation, and I think for others as well who are listening, is do not stop yourself from flowing because somebody else is trying to impede or put their own limitations on you. And sometimes that somebody else can also be you. Yeah, like it's not just because oftentimes we externalize the people that hold us back. Like it's that thing that happened to me. It's that person. It's also important to look at yourself in the mirror and go, yo, Chisom, where am I holding myself back?
Yeah. You know, I remember saying this when you're driving your car and you see a sign that says, oh, go slow, there are speed bumps ahead. You don't stop the car when you see a warning sign. Neither do you stop when you see the speed bumps ahead of you. You lower your speed, you go over them gently as you can, and then you hit the highway again. And you're up and running. But no one stops in life for speed breakers. So why do we stop in life when we have small problems? What we need to do then is slow the hell down, be gentle, be kind, and go over them, and then hit the road when the road is free. But it's really that.
Right.
I know it's sometimes harder to recognize when you're in it, but then it's a muscle you train.
Yes.
It's a muscle you train. It's a muscle that you pay attention to. And God knows you will make like a million other mistakes along the way. And that is fine too. But just don't stop, because stagnation is going to be the end of it all. Not the trying, not the
Absolutely.
failing. The stagnation is what's going to.
Absolutely.
The
I love
hard-
that analogy. I really like that analogy. And it's the thing about failing is proof that I'm trying. Right? Because if you're not trying, you're not failing. Nothing is happening. Everything is just stagnant. So I really love that. Kubbra, what is a book that changed the way you think or the way you see life?
I have a few books that have changed my life. I'm so terrible at remembering names. So bizarre. I remember, like, some of the first books I read. Alchemist changed my life. The Secret changed my life. I swear to God, I really do find a parking when I get out of my house now.
I love it.
It's not that hard.
Which is quite hard in Mumbai, I can imagine.
Yeah. No, I have. Sorry, Chiz, I'm going to break this to you, but I do have a driver.
Okay, that helps.
I have someone to drive me around. It's not really a problem I need to deal with now. But
That's
I do
great.
find the parking when I go driving. Yeah, so
Nice.
I get that. But I'm reading this book right now, which is really funny and pretty awesome. It's called Maybe You Should Talk to Someone.
Okay.
It's a really, really, really funny book because this book is about a therapist finding a therapist because she's going through a breakup. And the funny thing is, the therapist thinks who's gone to the therapist for help is looking around going like, oh gosh, I know how this works. So how do you break out of the patterns that you think you know?
Yeah.
So this is a really funny book I'm reading. I'm on my way to entrepreneurship. So this is another book that I'm reading, which is The Hard Things.
Nice. The Hard Things About the Hard Things. Really good book.
Really good book. Reading this right now. And
Can you share what you're creating?
I'm writing my first stand-up piece. I'm writing my stand-up special. Yeah.
Amazing.
And when this goes out, it's going to be the first public announcement.
Oh my gosh. That's exciting. Okay.
Yeah, I just got to get it done.
Yeah. And you are going to perform it live.
Writing, performing.
Oh my gosh. I love it. Is there like a timeline in mind?
Yeah, November 30th, 2026, we should film it.
Amazing. Okay. I was just going to say, I hope your stand-up special is going to be on Netflix so we can also watch it. We speak it into existence. Yeah, we just speak it into existence. That's a goal. Do you know what it's going to be called?
Do we speak the same language? What is going on?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think we have a lot in common. I think we think in a lot of similar ways. Yeah. But this has just been an absolute breeze, by the way. So
thank
this has been great.
You are a breeze.
Great. Oh, thank you. Question. So fire round. What have you had to unlearn or learn or relearn to be the person you are today?
Stop beating yourself up for the mistakes is something that I've had to unlearn. People pleasing is something that I had to just stop doing. I was that person who would have the loudest laugh in the room, not because the joke was funny, but because I would be heard. That's not a nice place. I've been that person, and I meet even today a lot of people who do that. And it's so transparent for me because I'm like, you must be so lonely inside sometimes. Yeah. So that's something that I...
Yeah, thanks for sharing. I was just sharing yesterday with someone about how, sometimes when you go to an event and, there's a performance and it's great and everyone stands up to clap and you're just like, I don't want to stand up. But then you feel that pressure to stand up. I'm that person who sits down. I'm going to clap as loud as I can, but it's just like, I want to sit down because I don't want the peer pressure of having to...
standing up.
I always think, and that's the problem. It's like when you start this process of like self-realization,
I still stand up.
I don't. I'm just like, I don't feel like standing up. This is wonderful. I'm going to clap, and...
Wow, look at you, rebels. You better stand up at my stand-up piece.
Of course. Absolutely. I'll be right in front. I mean, I guess if I were like sitting maybe right in front, I might feel more pressure, but I'm like, it's okay. But no. I mean, but I often reflect on that because sometimes when you start this process of knowing yourself, you're just like, does this feel like something I want to do? At least for me, it's like, I don't know that I want to do this right now. Right now, I want to sit down and clap loudly, But yeah, I mean, maybe that's rude in some settings where you should get up and clap. But anyways, I digress. What are you still becoming?
Like this. I'm going to learn how to just sit and not just stand up because everyone else is standing.
Yeah. I think for me, there's something very freeing about not acting or performing. If I want to stand up, I can be the only one standing up sometimes. Like I'm there, I'm standing, I'm listening. I don't wait for anybody else to stand up for me to do it. Yeah. So that's the line I try to draw for myself. Like I cannot perform myself. I just get to be. But of course, like it's some people like that, some people don't. But honestly, I don't care. Yeah.
I think the other thing that I unlearned was making excuses for my bad behavior. Like, it was easy for me to say, oh, I'm just a short-tempered person, I'm just an angry person. No, I had to change that about me. Um, and also understand that I am actually not just an angry person. There is something that's bothering me. So
Yes.
I would start speaking about the thing that's bothering me, not when it has surpassed the botheration, but at the beginning of it,
I
which
love
has
it.
helped me become less angry from opposite point of view. But I don't think I was really an angry person. But when I was, it was very easy for me to say, oh, I'm Leo, so I'm angry. I am woman who has worked too hard, so I'm angry. Someone didn't listen to me, so I'm angry. No, what? Being angry is in my control. So how do I take control of that? I think that's become something like literally I can now be like, I need 2 minutes and walk out.
Yes.
And then come back and be like, dude, do you understand we're on the same team? Instead of like going on a match with someone, which I think has served me a lot.
I really love that. That's really empowering. And I love the address the thing as it's happening, because when you let it build up, then it boils over and then it's like, look at this angry person now. Yeah, I love
Who's
that.
the angry person? Who's the angry person? Who is?
I love it. I love it. What are you still becoming?
I am becoming a lion.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I'm becoming a lion.
I
I
love
like that.
that. I love that. I love that. What are you aspiring to in your personal life?
I finally have a beautiful partner.
Yay.
Which I thought was unnecessary and noise. But there is something beautiful about having a partner who holds you, understands you. And it's not just available information because I am different. So to teach my partner what I want is a language I'm learning, and for my partner to teach me what he wants is a learning. And it's this incredible process of discovery. So I'm curious about it, and that helps me move in directions that are really empowering. Like I can be in my femininity like as much as possible because I know he's in his masculinity when I'm with him.
I love that.
I'm able to ask for what I want in a relationship. And it's not about putting pressure on this relationship to say, like, this must work or it's it. But I think I care enough to make it stick. So that's the good. Like,
Yeah. I love it. I love it. I was just thinking there's nothing as amazing as having your shit together and meeting someone who has their shit together. It's not doesn't mean that you both have to be perfect, but it's like you're both growing and willing to grow and willing to do the work. And even outside of romantic relationships, like even friendships, like when I meet new friends and I'm just like, oh my God, you've evolved because I'm evolving. Yeah. And there's not going to be any nonsense because we're adults. We're going to communicate. We're going to have problems. We're going to deal with it. Yeah. I think there's something so remarkable about that. So I'm really happy for you to hear that you have this.
thank you.
And what are you aspiring to in your professional life?
Now it's going to be also a lot of creation at my end. I want to do a lot of things that I could build with a team of people. So it's not just empowering me, but it's about creating a space to empower other people. You learn and recognize that success isn't yours if you're the only one who's striving. Success is yours when you see other people around you succeed as well. So I guess I'm learning that. That's interesting for me.
I love that. When all is said and done, Kubbra, how would you like to be remembered?
She lived, laughed, and conquered.
I love the conquer. Yes. I love it. And
I hate it when people say, I know hate is a very strong word. I rarely ever use it. I don't know why I just said it right now, but I really do hate it. When people say, how are you doing? I'm surviving. I'm existing.
I mean, if you're actually surviving, then that's okay. But I think people use survival just nonchalantly, right?
Yeah, they just, do you understand what surviving is? You being like stuck in a Grand Canyon for 128 days or some shit like that. Like, that's you surviving, you idiot. What's your like? Your help didn't show up or your car broke down. How can you be surviving? Your boss fired you. How's that surviving? Like, stop it.
I'm looking forward to your stand up. I think it's going to be hilarious.
Right.
Oh my gosh. Okay, a final question for you. If you could speak to young Kubbra, the girl you once were, what would you say to her? And what do you hope she becomes for the future that lies ahead?
I am the future I envisioned the little Kubbra to be. I don't even think I had this kind of vision for myself when I was younger. So if I had the opportunity to talk to my younger self, I would tell her to stand up to the oppressor. I would tell her to stand up for what she thought is right, for ask for what she wants, to ask for what she needs, to be unafraid to laugh unapologetically, and to never let the child in her die. That's good. Yeah, that's good.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thanks for sharing. Kubbra, this has been amazing. I feel like I know you. I feel like I've known you for a long time, just in general, in how we're able to engage. Thank you for being you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing so honestly. Thank you for making time for this. And yeah, I
No,
really
thank you.
appreciate
Thank you for reaching out. I'm so
course.
grateful that you do this incredible, I wouldn't call it a job, but you've taken this up as a responsibility to like spread the good word, spread the hard word, because sometimes this conversation is the hardest. And I'm grateful and thankful to you for taking this responsibility and ensuring it reaches people, and to do it with this sense of lightness. Like when I interact with you, I sense this lightness in you, which is beautiful. And I love to meet someone who goes to a therapist, bro.
Yes.
Otherwise, I'm selling this concept like it's mine.
Yeah. No, I mean, therapy is life. I mean, I don't even trust a therapist that doesn't have a therapist, to be honest. Like my therapist better have a therapist. Yeah. That's I'm just
I like.
yeah. No, but thank you. This has been lovely. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thanks for listening to Overnight Wisdom. Here's your one takeaway. Notice this week when you're performing instead of leading, when you're shape-shifting instead of being authentic. That awareness is where identity clarity begins. New episodes every Wednesday. Subscribe, and if this resonated, share it with someone who needs to hear it. I'm Chisom. Thank you for being here.